Here we go. Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday. Thank goodness. Friday, Friday, Friday. I am just sharing this video on my private page. So we are in the middle of doing the Mama's 21-day mindset reset. I just want to make sure that I shared this. Is it here? It's not here yet. We are in the middle of doing the Mama's 21-day mindset reset, all about learning how to, challenge certain thoughts that we have, challenge certain behaviors, challenge whatever it is, just to try to help you get more into your power, learning more to take up space in your life. There we go. I'm just sharing everything. And basically just getting after living your best life. So yes, mindset work is hard, but I don't believe that mindset work is actually self-righteous. I think some people are scared of it, and they think that, if they begin to apply certain strategies or try to question certain beliefs and habits and patterns, that makes them self-righteous. But I actually think if it's helping you to be a better you, do it for you. Okay, so that's what it's about. So we are day 15, and we are going to talk mostly about emotions. I think I'm going to do a few talks about emotions. So today we're going to talk just strictly about this concept that I read about from, I always mess up her name, Kelly McGonigal's. She calls it our base selves. I got this from her book, The Default Human Brain. So it is really, really interesting. It's from her book, The Neuroscience of Change. It is a fabulous, that's something you want to try getting your hands on. So basically, if you're here watching it on the live, say live, so I can say hello, because when you come at me, I can't see. If you are watching this on the replay, same thing. And as always, you are free to share this video if you found it helpful. Share it with your friends, because sharing is caring. And I do get asked a few times in my inbox, can I share your stuff? For sure. Just, share it. I'll see that you shared it. I'll come and I'll thank you, because let's just get these messages out. So basically, in the Default Human Brain, she talks about our base selves. So what is our base self? First of all, I should have asked if you could hear me. Let's put this volume on. Okay, so our base selves. Our base selves is basically when it's easier for us to blame, to defend, to complain, criticize, become defensive. That is our base human self. So we get like that sometimes when we are under pressure or we feel like we're being attacked. She calls it our base selves. This is just how we react. Now, I call that the easy way out. Okay, and here is why. Easy not because it's not pleasant, but easy because it is just so easy to go and it's easy to defend, and it's easy to deflect, and it's easy to blame and to criticize and complain. Those are easy things. I find doing introspection work is hard, because you have to actually go within and start to question certain things. So you're practicing introspection, you're practicing self-reflection, you're practicing awareness to see, are these, when my defense mechanisms, are they really helping me show up in my relationships fully? Or could I maybe tweak certain things and make my relationships even better? So basically, when we get into these modes, it's because we feel like we've been triggered. So again, if I say anything and you're like, man, that hit a chord with me, I'm just going to ask you to sit with those feelings. We are in a society that does not like to deal with the feels, and honestly, we are emotional beings that deal with our feelings less than 1% of the time. We need to sit with those feels. We need to sit with these emotions, and we need to figure them out. So hey, Angel. So again, we're going to talk about that. So yeah, I consider it to be the easy solutions when we start to deflect, to complain, to blame, to criticize, defend. Again, not to say that it's easy in the way that it's easy, but it's just the easiest solution. It's harder to sit with it and go like, And many of us become emotionally hijacked. Like I said, we're emotional beings. And I'm going to share a little story about what happened to me just this past week. So again, if I say anything that stings you, I want you to just sit with it, okay? Because I'm coming from a place of kindness and love, and I'm not here to point fingers. I just really want you, hey Brenda, to just sit with it, and we're all in it together. We're all in it together. So if we can become better, it just becomes better for the collective, and it just helps. So here we go. So as our base selves, when we're living from our base selves, we tend to think that we have something happen, like an event or an action, something happens, and then we become emotional. Boom. That would be base self thinking. What I really want you to start applying, and what I've been teaching myself for the past few years, and actually I had this huge conversation with my middle boy yesterday, is that there's actually a really tiny space of a time, like super tiny, between the event and the emotion. So there's the event, time, emotion. So it is super fast. And if the more we practice this, and guess what? We're all human, so we get tons of opportunities to practice these kinds of things within our relationships, the better we get to figure out what our triggers are. So a lot of times something will happen and we just assume that somebody, made us mad or somebody upset us. Listen, if you can hand away your power that easily, like it's not like that. So I'm going to talk about, and I've talked about this before, but I just really want to talk about our perceptions sometimes, and sometimes our preconceived judgments of certain things that happen. And when we talk about beliefs are all subconscious. So they are what drive us. They drive like 90% of the things we do in life are all driven by subconscious beliefs. To figure out what your beliefs are, you have to actually sit into the emotions. So when something happens and you get really lit up, you need to sit with that feeling and figure out what is it. And I'm going to tell you that probably the thing that you're living right now is not even. It's just like the surface stuff. So you might be upset about something that happened just now, but really you're dealing with past emotions that you never really faced. So I'll talk about that in a second. The way I like to explain it, and I've said it before in other videos, is like if you are walking into the woods and it's, getting dark outside. You're walking and all of a sudden you see a shape, in the ground, and you're like, oh my goodness. You might start to think, what is that, a snake? What is that? Is that an animal? Your immediate emotion might be fear. You're fearful. Oh my gosh. But then if you take a flashlight and you flash it on, you'll see, oh, okay, it's just, the racines, the tree stumps, the roots, the tree roots. It could be, I don't know, the moss, the way the ground is all placed in the forest. You don't know. But right away, the emotion you would have would be a sense of relief, like, oh, goodness, thank goodness, it wasn't what I thought. And immediately you calm down. So the way I like to explain emotions, and this is awesome when you're trying to build more emotional resiliency, especially within your kids, is you have to actually do the work on yourself first, because I think that if you're not practicing on yourself, how can you teach somebody else? So I want you to think of that little time of space as though you had a flashlight. So you can actually like flash. And again, we're not going for perfection. We had a video all on that yesterday. Perfection doesn't exist, but you are going for practice, and you need to show up for yourself. You have to be willing to put in the work, and sometimes it's not fun. Okay. So you're going to have the event, then you need to take a breath. So I want your breath to be like your flashlight, just like something happens, you take a breath. Okay, what am I feeling? I'm angry right now. I'm hurt right now. I'm upset, whatever the emotion is. And usually it's the really heavy emotions. And the thing with pain and hurt and all those things is that we like to, because we don't like the feelings, we like to throw it at somebody else. Okay, so we just, like a hot potato. And the thing about that is you just threw away your power. So if you say, I'm upset because you made me upset, no, you're choosing You are choosing, because just like the flashlight, you can take a deep breath and figure out what is happening. So if ever you found yourself in a situation where you're like, oh my God, you piss me right off, you make me angry, I need you to understand that nobody has that power to just come and rip it from you ever. So if you are choosing, so it's about accountability, it's about awareness, it's about radical responsibility and saying like, what is the situation happening? So a quick story that happened to one of my boys yesterday. Came home from school. He had a tough day at school and took it out on his other brother. Like, these are normal human reactions. And in his mind, because I mean, they're still little, I explained this to him. Most adults don't even understand this yet. In his mind, he assumed that it was his brother that upset him. But I knew that the power that he had, the intensity of the emotions, it wasn't that. So we did some talking and some investigative work and discovered that he had a crappy day at school. Guess what? Crappy days are normal. They will happen. So when we can normalize the feelings, when we can be empathetic and compassionate with it and hold space, because feelings are, you know, your feelings are always valid. Always valid. They're not always logical, but they are always valid. You hold space for them and you can use them as invitations. Like, what is the red flag happening? And we were able to discover that it had actually nothing to do with the little brother. It had to do with him having a really hard day in school. So let's talk about that, you know, and in a way where we don't use shame and guilt to make them feel worse, just like yourself. So this is basically what it is. I want you to sit with it. When something happens, I need you to sit with it and I need you to say, like, what is happening right now? Why do I feel so upset? So I've been doing these 21-day videos, and I would have actually, the way I planned it out, I would have actually been finished on the 31st of January. But I've missed a few videos consecutively, which I said right from the get-go I would. But what happened is on Monday night, I had a talk all planned for you lovely faces. And I had an emotional hijack because sometimes life happens. And I had to actually sit in my car, in my driveway. I sat there for over an hour because I was very upset and I needed to figure out what was happening. And it would have been so easy to blame and to put shame. You know, all tools that I have actually used in the past, instead of going deep and saying, why am I so upset right now? What is the belief that is driving me? What are my values? And a lot of times what I discovered was I was upset with myself. I thought I was upset with one of my kids, but I was upset with myself because I didn't establish clear boundaries. There was no set rules of the way I thought things would be. And we assume other people know what our core values are and what our beliefs are. And, you know, we just assume. And this is where the error lies, because then when we get upset, it's because, you know, we had expectations that I always think that we shouldn't have expectations with people. People are people. People are going to mess up because we are human. So instead of getting upset, get curious. So that's what I did. I sat in my car and I was curious. At first I was like, man, what did he do? Why did he do this? Blah, 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 blah. Until I discovered that it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. You know, I had a long day. I had a lot on my plate. You know, this is what it comes down to. It comes down to understanding what the real story is, because we think that it could be just this one thing, but actually there's a whole other back issue. So, and the reason I sat in my car is because I needed a timeout, because I was like, I need to go and figure out why I'm being emotionally hijacked. Why was I so lit? You know, sit in the car, had some tears, do some reflection, understand what the whole, like, get a grasp. And oftentimes we can't be objective because we're just in it. But if I were to ask you to read a paper with it right to your nose, you wouldn't be able to read it. So you need some space. So if something is happening and you are, you know, upset or whatever it is, I'm talking about the heavy emotions. it is okay, and I really hope that you allow yourself the opportunity to take space. Either go in another room, sit in your car in the driveway, take a walk, just to really reflect on what it is, and to know that it probably has nothing to do with what is happening right now. And we can get in a little vicious spiral where we want to just, blame the other person. This is base self-thinking, where we just start and keep going. The way to pull yourself out of that is stop talking. Stop talking. I'm not saying don't feel the feels, but I'm saying stop talking, because we can talk ourselves into anything, and it is probably not the most absolute truth. Our mind is able to find any kind of evidence we're looking for. So instead, it's about taking space, reflecting, shine that flashlight, and understand that there's always the event or the action, the space, then the emotion on how you choose to show up. So if you keep reliving certain patterns, getting upset with certain people, or you feel like people are taking advantage of you, or whatever the story may be, this is probably your time, because brand new year, that's why we're doing this Mindset Month, just to sit and figure out what stories, what patterns, what habits do you think that you can maybe either tweak or rewrite or just totally drop. So that is pretty much all I have for you, because again, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is just to let you be human, but to also understand that you're able to take your power back. Okay, so nobody can come and take it from you, but it's up to you to make sure that you keep it. Don't throw your stuff at other people. So that is all I have for you. I hope you have a really good Friday. Yeah, shine bright like a diamond. Again, if I say anything that you guys loved, feel free to share this video. Let's get this stuff out. I honestly think the more we talk about emotions and help to build that emotional resiliency, the better it is. Again, the book that I was talking about is called Neuroscience of Change. It's by Kelly McConigal. It's called The Default Human Brain. So you can Google that if you are into reading stuff like that. If not, that's totally cool too. But it's basically about radical responsibility, about owning what part you're showing up in, because I honestly think that everybody plays a part in whatever story, and there's not really any bad guys. So the minute that you have a bad guy in your story, you're a victim, and if you're a victim, you can't be a hero. So you got to choose if you're a victim or a victors. And I know that you ladies are self-love soldiers, so you're just going to kick it and own it. So that's all I have. I will be back on tomorrow for day 16, and on Sunday we're going to do a Q&A. So I'll put a post where I'm already getting some inboxes and some emails for questions, so go nuts. I will answer as many as I can. Obviously, let's keep it appropriate, but that's all I have. So peace, love.